Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 172 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network, talking all things football. And if you're a Vancouver Whitecaps fan, you're fired up, I'm sure. We're fired up. Everyone who follows the Whitecaps is fired up because it's another big week for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Two big wins. And despite everything, despite all the injuries, the adversity, they still managed to pull off two big wins.
And look good while doing it.
Yeah, and look good while doing it. And I still can't believe that, this is the Vancouver Whitecaps we're talking about.
You know what? I saw it being thrown out by Caleb Wilkins of the third sub saying, it's very, very early days, but do we need to start looking at Jesper Sorensen as a potential coach of the year candidate?
Right now, it's early. He'd be the front runner.
Yeah, I mean,
him and Carnell from Philly.
Yeah. He's come in and he's taken. One of the things I really like about Sorensen is when we've talked about the depth of the Whitecaps and they're threadbare in certain areas. He comes in and said, "Nobody told me I didn't have a bench, so I just started using guys."
Yeah, and
it's paid off. People have bought into what he's doing. Again, early days. At some point, other teams are going to figure the Whitecaps out a little bit, and Sorensen is going to have to adapt. But for right now, it's a fun ride.
Yeah, and remember when he first arrived, he said, "I want to work with what I have," and said something like, "It's not about a revolution. I want to help the team evolve." Which, right now, he's showing that.
And the funny thing is, all of this has been done, and one of our key signings that we did in the offseason, we haven't even seen yet in Emmanuel Savi.
Yeah. And, well, start with the weekend. Montreal were in town. Speaking of coaches, Laurent Courtois is on the hot seat. And if this continues for Montreal, I don't see him lasting until, the summer.
Montreal, I think Montreal is a very difficult place to be a head coach. Because you've got the Montreal fan base, doesn't matter what sport it is an educated and rabid fan base, right? Like they are a very, very passionate fan base. And for whatever their chosen sport is, they know what they're talking about.
Yep.
On top of that, so you have to appeal to them, right? You have to do justice to the fans, because without fans, you don't have a team. That's the way it works. You also have on the other side the Saputos. And I can't imagine that being an easy boss to work with.
No. Jesse Marsh and Wilfred Nancy knew that firsthand and just left.
Yeah.
So the game against Montreal
itself, right?
Yeah. Once again, dominating performance, solid possession, controlled base system, but not without the bad stuff. Ryan Gauld apparently didn't see what happened, but he fell awkwardly. It looks like trying to go for a header. Landed on his leg, was down for a bit, and limped off the pitch. Not what you want to see as a Vancouver Whitecaps fan. But thankfully, he's not out months. He's only out for a few weeks with a left knee injury.
Yeah, they're calling it a left knee sprain. He went up to head a ball that was crossing above him. It was, I should say, a clearance by Montreal down at Montreal's right flank. Gauld, playing on the left for the Whitecaps, went up to head it. And the way he landed, there was no one around him for 10 yards. Right away, he went down. Reminds me when I was in university, a friend of mine, when we were playing just volleyball intramurals, went up to set a ball, landed, and right away knew something was out, and that was his ACL. So that was my first thought is, you land wrong. Like it does not take much. Thankfully, he did walk off. He had help, but he did walk off, and it doesn't sound as bad as it potentially could have been. Whether or not he is going to be back for, say, some of those early games in April will remain to be seen. He's listed right now a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but the Whitecaps without him, unlike the game against LA Galaxy where things lost their momentum after Sam Adekugbe went down, the Whitecaps just kept pushing, and
it was only a few minutes later that we have Matias Laborda.
Yeah, like he's fighting for the ball in the box after Montreal. I don't know how they couldn't clear it, but Laborda fights for it and he beats Jonathan Sirois.
Laborda was already having a pretty good game heading into that point. He was the best passer on the pitch for the entire night.
Yep.
Most accurate passing. He had already attempted an overhead kick by that point. That looked pretty good. And was on net. It actually forced a save out of Sirois, right?
Yep, it did.
Yeah, thank you.
And
now,
him
fighting for the ball, it was a ball that was put back into play from Ali Ahmed, fighting between Laborda, White, and a number of Montreal defenders. But did you see Laborda hit the ball around? Like he actually extended his foot beyond the body of the Montreal defender, hit the ball past him, spun around him to get the ball back and score.
Yeah. I mean, look at that, 96% completed passes.
There you go, right? And not bad when you got almost 50 passes in the entire match, right?
Yeah, I mean, these stats stand out. 8 passes into the final third, 11 defensive actions, 5 out of 5 duels, 1.
This is the stuff a defender does that when he does it well, you don't notice. When he doesn't do it well, you do for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but It's good to see Laborda finally get his flowers. And he's off to a really good start in the season. Because last season he was all over the place, up and down. But this year he looks more comfortable, more confident, and is looking like a key player for the Whitecaps.
It's interesting. I never rated him as a right back.
Yeah.
There were moments last year where I thought, all right, you did an okay job, but I never really rated him as a right back. I'm seeing there's a number of players that we can put up for most improved so far this year. He's definitely a candidate.
Yeah. Pedro Vite, too.
Yep.
His hot start continues. The second goal, though, he gets the hockey assist, the secondary assist.
Yeah.
He finds Ali Ahmed running down the wing. And then Tate Johnson, all alone, not a single Montreal defender around him because they're all looking at Ahmed. And then Ahmed crosses it, and Johnson hits a weird lob shot that just goes in the net.
It's because I don't think he was used to that, right?
I don't think he expected it.
It's the Sam Adekugbe goal.
Yep.
This is the Sam Adekugbe goal that we've seen where he's that secondary guy in. He's the wide guy coming into the flank, cutting inside the box. I don't know if it's something that they work on or if it's just Johnson watching, the elder statesman that plays in his position on his side. But we've seen this goal before, and we've seen it from that position before. So I don't know. If Johnson's paying attention, I hope he keeps it up.
Yeah. Good on the kid for first MLS start, first MLS goal. He played the full 90, which is pretty good for him. But the Whitecaps just managed to continue to control the game. Some nervy moments at the end, though. Owusu in on a loan by Yohi Takaoka, who didn't have much to... That was the only shot on target from Montreal the entire game, by the way.
Yeah, great save. It was a great reaction save from, I think he was inside the 6-yard box when he actually took it. So, and you're right. Takaoka did not have a whole lot of work to do. To stay alert for, 85 plus minutes just to be there when you're actually called on is commendable.
Yeah, and then near the end, Owusu's shot goes off the bar, off Takaoka's foot, and somehow stays out. And sometimes you gotta be
when it hits the foot that it's not bouncing the wrong way.
Sometimes you gotta be good to be lucky and lucky to be good.
Yeah.
That's
3 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. Only 2 teams can say that right now.
Vancouver and Philadelphia Union, both with first-year head coaches.
Yeah, and both with teams that don't have the biggest payroll.
Yeah.
But are well-constructed teams.
Both with 2 of the best strikers in MLS, Ty Barabo in Philadelphia Union, Brian White in Vancouver.
Yeah. Barabo, I believe, already has 5 goals.
Yeah, I think he's leading the lead.
Yeah. We know him because it was a player that the Whitecaps were looking at, back when he was playing in Austria, I believe.
Yeah, and Tate Johnson has more MLS regular season goals than Lionel Messi. Put that in your head.
Put this in your head. Messi was on the bench last game. Who benches Messi?
Yeah, I don't know. Mascherano making player rotations for Champions Cup.
Yeah.
And Tate Johnson has already passed the other guy who wore his previous number and shared his last name, MLS goal total, Levante Johnson.
MLS goal total, not total, because we had like the two bangers against Cavalry, right? But right. Yeah, it's again, he is a fullback. I wasn't expecting it, but it's nice to see that he has that awareness of when to get up into positions in his game.
And again, this goes to show that the Whitecaps drafted this guy. They believed in this guy really, like, a lot, and even considered trading up to him because they see his potential, and that's what we're looking at.
The one thing I will say, and we'll talk about it when we get to the midweek game from last night, is temper your expectations.
Yep.
He's a young kid. He's learning.
Yeah, he's not going to be the next Alphonso Davies.
I hope he's up there, but he plays the Americans. So unless he wants to switch nationalities, then
we could do that.
Yeah.
But the midweek game, let's actually talk about that now. Down in Mexico, not in Monterrey, due to a Shakira concert, as mentioned. Tough test with the heat and everything and the conditions. Poor start by the Whitecaps. These passes, like, they were going all over the place. Like, even at one point, Kubis made a really bad pass, and you can hear Sorensen yelling at him from the broadcast. Even Adam Jenkins mentioned it.
Yeah.
And then the goal from Monterrey by Canales, Vite and Ocampo, that was a terrible breakout. And then the cross comes in, Johnson loses Canales, and Canales manages to squeeze it past Isaac Boehmer.
I think saying that Johnson lost Canales is being very nice. I don't think Johnson saw Canales at all.
Yeah. Again,
came in from behind, and I don't think he knew he was there at all.
Temper your expectations for the kid.
Yeah.
Still young.
That's a learning. That's a painful lesson to learn, but your head's going to be on a swivel after that one.
Yeah, but luckily the Whitecaps didn't fold after that goal because they slowly started to get back into the game.
Yeah. In the first half, I will say, around the 25th minute, they started getting into the game. We started to see a simpler passing game. We're not trying to do these passes that are breaking lines anymore. We're trying to control and build, right? And it became a bit more methodical, a bit more cerebral in how we're moving up. Once the half came up, and they made two big changes at halftime, bringing in Laborda and Ngondo. They went back to their 4-3-3 rather than what Sorensen was calling a 5-2-3. Once they got back to the game that they have been playing, it was all Whitecaps.
It was all Vancouver. Even in the first half, like Ocampo and Ali Ahmed on that right side were creating the most chances, but they couldn't get a shot on net.
I mentioned it at the halftime that I said I was somewhat positive in how Ocampo was playing. I was still holding out. Like, we were at that point, we were still down by 1 in the game, but there was things to like of what he was doing. As soon as they changed the formation and they gave him a little bit more creative license.
Yep.
Man, I think we got a taste of what Eddie Ocampo can do. And remember, he's only 21.
Yes. And speaking about Eddie Ocampo, he's the one that gets Vancouver on the board in the second half, cuts in, and beats the goalkeeper with a really well-taken shot for his first Whitecaps goal.
Hard shot, low shot, goes across the goalkeeper, finds the far post. Beautiful.
Yeah. And Whitecaps continue to control, dictate play in that second half. Like, Monterrey were starting to get frustrated, even in the first half.
Yeah. Well, the thing is you started to see a shift in who's controlling the ball. We were able to start playing that possession, that high possession, high control, quick press game, high press game in Mexico. There was no fear. Whether because we're not playing in Monterrey's building, I mean, that probably adds to it. The crowd was smaller, but again, that was happening in a lot of these games in Mexico. So, the crowd might not have had much to do with it. The fact that Monterrey's record in Liga MX hasn't been the greatest. I think they're sitting in 9th in the Clausura right now. Again, they don't need to perform in the Clausura. They've already done the job in the Apertura, but still.
Yep.
It was a good time to play this game. It sucks you didn't have your talisman in Ryan Gauld, but they didn't look. That's one of the biggest positives of this team is that when you lose key pieces, you're finding people stepping up. Jason Ngannou is one of them. Idiaro Ocampo with Atakube out is another one of them. To lesser extents, Tate Johnson, again, still learning, but he's being bled in and he's taking the challenge at least. This was part and parcel. And then we can talk about Brian Whiteskull.
Yeah. It doesn't happen without Andres Grubis' slide tackle.
Yes.
Which the Whitecaps were doing really well at winning duels in Monterrey's half. That's what they've been doing all season. And then Brian White finds a pocket of space and gets around Sergio Ramos and scores.
I don't think he got around Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos wasn't even on the same planet. He was called ball watching. Did you see the line? Because everyone, the people that were complaining offside, and then you see Ramos standing about, 7-8 yards away. Just standing there,
White was
arms
way
on the sides, keeping White on side by at least 2 yards.
Wow. Yeah, White was clearly onside. I don't know if anyone's complaining. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he was able to come in and
then
basically
the Whitecaps continued to. Yeah, pretty much. And well, it wasn't that easy because Monterrey was starting to get back into it. Then in stoppage time, this penalty came.
Yeah.
I don't know how this was called. EAR was looking at, and his line is back. What do you do there?
If you're going to make the call that his arm was in an unnatural position, I mean, it's a tough one to make. I mean, the guy's running. Your arms move. The unnatural position is if your arms weren't moving. The thing that bugs me is that 5 minutes of stoppage time was given, and this penalty was given after those 5 minutes were already done. They actually ended up doubling the amount of stoppage time because of this whole fiasco. Fine, whatever. You're going to give the penalty, but it should have been take the penalty, game done. Not play for another 3 minutes.
And it didn't really matter anyway because the Whitecaps were up on away goals.
Yeah. I will say, if you take that penalty out of it, the referee had a good game.
Yeah, because I still don't understand that call. That was never a pen.
Yeah, I don't believe it was either.
I don't know what Ranko is supposed to do here when he's like this.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially when it's coming from behind. There's absolutely no way. There's no knowledge of that. But it's CONCACAF. We've seen worse ones given, to be sure.
Yeah, it reminds me of one in the CPL last year where the guy had his arms behind his back, and they still gave away a penalty.
Yeah.
So the Whitecaps move on in the CONCACAF Champions Cup to the quarterfinals. They have beaten a Mexican side for the first time ever.
In Mexico,
though they are actually the first Canadian side to beat a Mexican team in this tournament. Toronto FC a few years ago did win against Tigres, but they didn't win the tie.
That's right. Yeah. And we should mention the Whitecaps have beat a Mexican side before as well. Leagues Cup last year, but
yeah, it's Leagues Cup.
Different tournament. So up next is going to be the winner of today's match, Pumas out of Mexico, and Alajuelense, which I believe is Costa Rica.
Yeah, Pumas is up 2-0 on aggregate.
Absolutely. So second game of that, I mean, you have to think that Pumas is the favorite to go ahead, especially since they're 2 up on that tie. Pumas Whitecaps did play last year in
Leagues Cup.
So,
and Pumas took care of the Whitecaps.
Yeah, they did. Again, it's a different team, and you get 2 tries. So,
yeah, and this time, the Whitecaps will be playing in BC Place and I believe Mexico City, where Pumas is located. And last night was one of if not the biggest MLS era win of the Whitecaps history, and I guess it really means this year is could be different. Still early in the season, but the resilience the team showed, the depth stepping up, we've never seen something like this from the Vancouver Whitecaps in their MLS era before.
No, a couple of things. Early day. I mean, it's funny to think that they've only been playing really just over a month, but it feels like with how many games that there's been that it feels like it's the middle of the summer already. Patience, patience in knowing how long the game is. That you have 90 minutes to get back. But then also the explosiveness of when you don't have the ball, of getting it back, of wanting the ball, right? It's a very, very different philosophy than what we were used to seeing of if you don't have the ball, that's fine. If you have the ball, you better be doing something with it. With Sorensen, it's we want the ball all the time. And we don't necessarily need to be doing everything with it all at once. We have 90 minutes to get the job done. So patience is key when you have the ball. I'm enjoying it. I think it's exciting to watch. I think players have bought into it. I think players understand it. And I think that there is a level of creative freedom for doesn't matter where you are on the pitch. Center backs are getting up.
Yep. Center backs are making these long passes and crosses.
Which we've always known a player, especially like Tristan Blackman, had the ability to do. We saw it in his first year. And then that got kind of tempered out of his game because it didn't fit the system. That's fine. Different system, different philosophies. This one suits players like that, right? That have that in their locker.
So, yeah, just Sorensen's philosophy is pretty much you want to dictate the game, you want to win the game, control the game, because if you have the ball, you can do things with it. Because without the ball, how are you supposed to win?
Yeah. Next up will be MLS action, though, and that's coming up tomorrow. FC Dallas. So it's away in Dallas. It's not that far of a trip back from where they are in Mexico, just basically across the border. Yeah, Dallas' record so far 1-1-1. They've got 6 goals, but they've also let in 7.
Yeah, they lost their last match to Chicago at home, 3-1. Yeah. And they drew Colorado in that wild one 2 weeks ago, and their only win was a win over Houston on opening day.
Dallas, I think they have a decent team on paper. It just hasn't clicked yet.
Yeah, I mean, we got Lucho Acosta.
Yeah, and you think Acosta should be able to feed someone like Musa up front. Pace in net is a top goalkeeper.
Yep. And they have Leo Chu as well.
Yeah.
Formerly of Seattle Sounders. Whitecaps killer in the past.
That's true, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's really clicked for them, though.
Right now. But I don't think this is going to be a game that they can take for granted. Again, also, Whitecaps haven't had as much rest. Thankfully, they don't have to fly through Houston and get, caught in air traffic for, half a day.
Yeah, but given the way this team playing, there should be no reason not to expect 3 points.
I think right now they go into every game. The schedule doesn't matter. They're going into every game knowing that they have a team that they can rotate, and they're going in to win. They're going in with a game plan to win.
Yeah, and more chances for Def to step up without Ryan Gauld, Sam Metakube. Don't know if Jaden Nelson, he's on the trip. We don't know if he'll play or be on the bench.
I'm okay if they rest him.
Yeah, just
I if they're going to bring him back, I want him to be 100%. I don't want him to be 95 or 96 because that's when you bring a guy in for half an hour and then he ends up getting injured instead of for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months. Make sure he's 100% healthy because the MLS season is so long.
Yeah. And the Whitecaps have never been known to rush players back.
They haven't. To their credit, they haven't. So
that's a good thing if it's understandable if he doesn't play on the weekend. And should also shout out Ali Ahmed. Continuing to improve. Great passes, good on the duels. just the final pass, the final
I
ball
said it last night. If he
needs to be more
figures
cleaner.
out the final touch, this player will be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the stats against Monterrey.
Yeah.
Go to show why he's being called up for Canada. More on that later.
Interesting. The one that stands out for me there was that he was fouled 6 times. That's actually tied for the most fouls received for any player in this entire tournament so far. There was another player, I can't remember the name, that got that was fouled 6 times as well. But the fact that you're drawing that much, again, like Ahmed, his body shape, he's gangly. As a defender, a 1v1, you have no idea which way he's going to go by you, if he's going to go by you or passing. He's such a there's an unorthodox measure to his game, and it suits him so well.
Yeah, I mean, this guy with the ball on his feet, he'll go around you or drop to the ground 6 times, which is insane, especially considering Ahmed does draw a lot of fouls. But another great game from him, and let's see if the form can continue and be more consistent.
Fouls in the first half, like I know in the second half, I think they kind of got closer to equal, but I think the fouls in the first half were something like 14-6.
Yeah.
With Whitecaps only being 6. I mean, the number of fouls was quite nuts.
There's only one yellow card in the entire game, though.
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah. And you notice it, especially in that second half. The referee kind of just kept the whistle in the pocket. And I was okay with that. Like there were some in there, like, yes, you could have called this or that, but it felt like he was doing it for both sides and just letting them play. And then the flow of that game with whistle in the pocket, I think suited the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and just wanted to let both teams play.
The start-stop game would have suited Monterrey.
Yeah, but for Vancouver, in games this season with Vancouver's possession, we don't see a lot of whistles.
No.
Which is a really good thing because helps their focus, helps them dictate the play. And just this season, it's just been a breath of fresh air. Only 1 loss, undefeated in the league, in the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which, by the way, will be in April.
Yep.
But tougher time.
April 1st, I believe.
Yeah, April 1st to 3rd is the first leg window.
There you go. Or, yeah, the window's somewhere in there. It's like between the 1st and the 3rd, I think.
Don't know if that'll be in Mexico or Costa Rica or at BC Place yet. So, good times for the Whitecaps, but it's up to them to make sure they can keep rolling.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Canada. Their roster for the CONCACAF Nations League is set, and Jesse Marsh talked about it, and he said this is the strongest Canada has looked.
I think he's close to that. I think if you're wanting the strongest roster in terms of depth, I would throw in a Sam Adekugbe into that.
Yeah, but unfortunately he can't play.
I think that this is very close, especially now that we're adding in Daniel Jebison, Promise David.
Yeah, good to see 2 promising forwards, pun intended.
They've now declared. And not only that, but these are big forwards, right? Like both of these guys are over 6 foot.
Yeah, they need the service. And you can see a youngster like Jamie Knight LaBelle in. Nico Seeger, also dual national. Just names you expect and names that have been up and coming.
Yep.
And simply put, win this Nations League or bust. The expectations are higher now, especially with this team.
I think so as well. Definitely not going to be an easy set of matches up against Mexico, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I think this is the time to show what Marsh can do. He's had enough time to figure out this team. He's had enough time to get his philosophy in there. Sorry, it sounds like a weed whacker is going down my hall right now. But yeah, now it's the time to say, like, you've had your honeymoon window. Perform now.
Yeah, it's win this trophy, win the Gold Cup.
Yeah,
Expectations are high. They've done great things already under Jesse Marsh. Now it's time to go to the next level. And yeah, a pretty deep squad. Names that, have been here before, names that haven't been here before, but it's up to everyone to step up. And good to see, of course, Vancouver Whitecaps Ali Ahmed
yep.
back in the lineup. For starting goalkeeper, I'd go with Dane St. Clair.
Right now, so would I.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. I know Crépeau hasn't had the greatest start to this season, but when it comes to Canada, I still think that he might be the guy Marsh goes to, or we might see what he's done before and split his goalkeepers between both games.
Yeah. Well, it's a semifinal and a final, so
Yeah,
interesting to see what he does. But Mexico's not going to be easy. They did play them in that friendly last fall. It was 0-0 in a very physical game, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was 0-0.
yeah, absolutely.
So March 20th will be the semifinal next week in SoFi Stadium in LA, and hopefully Canada comes out with a trophy here.
And the bad thing is I'm going to miss that game because I'm going to be going away. But I'll be cheering from where I am.
Yeah, more on you'll reveal that later. But the women also are going to have games soon.
Yep.
They're going to play Argentina in 2 friendlies here in BC, April 4th at BC Place and April 8th at Starlight Stadium. So more chance for people to see what Casey Stoney can do.
Also, I think playing a team like Argentina is a good level of competition.
Yep.
Right. To really figure out what you have. And yeah, we're still waiting for those competitive matches. I know a Pinatar Cup just finished, but
wasn't really
that was still very early days in Casey Stoney's era, right? We'll go on from that.
Yeah, and Argentina, always a good side, and we're gonna clearly see what Casey Stoney's system is like, which players he chooses, and it's just good, to have the women play more games on home turf. They're friendlies, but it's something.
I'm happy it's on the West Coast too. It gives people an opportunity from across the country to watch, right?
Right. And good thing they're giving love to Starlight Stadium in Langford.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the women have played there before. Remember Christine Sinclair's kind of last two matches. One was at Starlight. I think one was at BC Place as well. So, I mean, They've been there before. They've had a good experience there before. I'm happy they're keeping it up.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting, these games. And we'll see what they can do. Speaking of stadiums, CPL, Mark Noonan, the commissioner, is meeting with Quebec City Mayor Bruno Marchand to discuss site for a potential stadium.
So this meeting did already happen earlier this week, I believe. The interesting thing, is that they're looking at the potential stadium sites without there being ownership yet. The way they're going hard on Quebec City. I'm all for it. There needs to be a team in Quebec. And I think Quebec City is a fantastic place to put a CPL team. I think it's a phenomenal place to put a CPL team. The fact that they're going so hard to find a stadium is going to make it more attractive for a potential owner to come in.
Yeah, and if they find the right place, investors will come. You build it, they will come.
I hope so.
Yeah, Quebec City deserves a team, and the CPL has been.
Think you could still do a CPL team, not necessarily in the heart of Montreal, but if you look at, say, Laval or something like that, right? I mean, this Quebec is a huge province, and if you're looking at British Columbia,
just outside it,
potentially a third team in this province, you can fit at least 2 in Quebec.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you could try Laval,
That's what
That's the area I was thinking.
Yep. Just north of Montreal. A big city in its own right.
Yeah, like Laval is like not too far from Montreal, just maybe a couple hours. I believe. Also home to the university there.
Yep.
So there's actually a good population, good sporting area. And should also mention after last week's show, you know how we said Vancouver FC need to sign players? Well, they have.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. And they signed Kunle Data Luke, a fullback. I believe he can play both sides to a contract. And played for Pacific last year, I believe, and is one of the best fullbacks in the CPL. So this is a big swing.
Yeah. They can't be done yet because I don't even think that they've approached 20 on their squad yet. But, you know.
Yeah, they did not. They're not done yet. 1 year deal through 2025 with an option for 2026. So he leaves the island for Langley. He's experienced, 25 years old, and he's fast. This guy has a lot of speed. So that'll be a big boost to Vancouver FC.
All right, across the pond.
Yep. So Chelsea are winning, but it's not the most exciting way to win. But a win is a win, right? So 2-1 win last week over Copenhagen in the Conference League. Not their best again, but Reece James manages to score, and so does Enzo Fernandez. It was annoying to give up that one goal at the end, but they're up on the tie. And it kind of is the same story against Leicester City in the Premier League. Only a 1-0 win, though. Again, this team with low blocks, it's hard to break down. Excuse me. I mean, low blocks for any team could be hard to break down, but
yeah,
once you figure it out, you figure it out. But Chelsea crosses, sideways passes, backward passes, and repeat. That was the game against Leicester City. And what made things even more alarming was Cole Palmer is ice cold in the negative way. Because he steps up to take the penalty, and it's saved.
Yeah.
First time ever he has missed a penalty in his career. And I guess he's only human after all. So it was a good save, though. Palmer picked his place, he chose placement. But it was just a really good save from the Leicester goalkeeper, Hermansen. But the guy who did get on the scoreboard, Marco Corella. He just tried the shot from distance. Low shot beats Hermansen in the second half. That was the only goal of the game because Chelsea struggled again to create decent chances. And Cole Palmer, apparently a day or two before the game, was dealing with stomach problems and diarrhea. But he told Maresca that he wanted to play because they needed points to reach UCL next year. Understandable, maybe why he missed the penalty. Maybe he wasn't 100%.
He was clenching too much.
Probably.
Making sure everything stayed intact.
Yeah. But it's been almost 2 months for Cole Palmer without a goal.
Which is
bizarre.
Pretty bizarre compared to what we saw last year, right?
Yeah, and the first half of this year. And I don't understand these people saying, oh, Maresca ruined Cole Palmer. No, he didn't. Because Cole Palmer, first half of the season was flying. He picked off where he left off last season. But I guess,
players hit runs where nothing is working. Moments of adversity. What's going to be interesting to see is what he does to get out of this, right? Is Palmer really, does he have that mental strength to go beyond this? I think he does. I think he'll be fine. But you just got to work through it.
Not forget, Chelsea would be much worse without Cole Palmer because he's carried the team so much over the past year and a half. But it also goes to show that he needs help up front. Sure, Neto worked really hard. He did well on his birthday also. One of the best players on the pitch, but the duo between Palmer and Nicholas Jackson was sorely missed. Jackson could possibly come back this month, which is a good sign.
Yeah,
I'm sure Palmer will figure it out. He has proven that he is a world-class player. but he needs to figure out as soon as possible because I'm sure one goal goes in, it'll be back to form. And fans are not happy with this Stamford Bridge atmosphere because apparently it hasn't been great these past few years. I can't really blame them because, new ownership's running the team into the ground. Team's not winning, understandably. Fan favorites have been sold or loaned out. But I really hate this rhetoric where people say on Chelsea Twitter, "Oh, it's the tourists, the foreigners. They're ruining the atmosphere. They're not real fans." People like me, I've been dreaming for years to go see a game at Stamford Bridge, and I'm sure many people around the world do. Like, I remember seeing this video of this Korean guy who went to a Tottenham game, and look how happy he looked.
Yeah.
And he was like, he waited all his life for that, pretty much.
Not only that, but you think of the global nature of these clubs. I get it. They started from grassroots, especially when you look back into the history of these clubs back into the 1800s for a lot of these teams. We're not from 150 years ago. We'll take these fans and we'll drag them into the 21st century after we drag them through the 20th.
Yeah. And football is a global sport, people.
Yeah.
And the English Premier League is a global league. People around the world watch these games. Like, people in Asia get up at 3 a.m. to watch these games. That's how dedicated. And teams like Chelsea and Tottenham would not be as big as they are without their global support. So don't rag on foreign fans or any of that support or local BS, because fans from around the world help grow football and help grow the English Premier League. So let's let that narrative die. So for Chelsea, Copenhagen second leg today. Hopefully they make it more easier, comfortable. And then Arsenal at the Emirates on Sunday. So for Tottenham, Bournemouth, Dominic Solanke against his old team. Gritty 2-2 draw.
And Solanke was back.
Yep.
One of the players to finally come back, Cristiano Romero, was also starting this match. Mickey Van de Ven was on the bench. First time that he's been named to a squad in 2 months after his injury. Starting to come back. But this game got out of hand very early. Again, Tottenham could have been down 1-0 15, 20 seconds into the match. It was very slanted in Bournemouth's favor to begin the match. Tough one. And then if you take a look at this match, the first goal that came from Kirkes was from Tavernier was absolutely phenomenal. A brilliant cross to find Tavernier, who basically dove feet first to get on the end of that. Brilliant Bournemouth goal. Definitely one that you won't see that many better crosses to make such a goal happen. Second half, Son came on. Again, he was on the bench to begin the match, and you could see the captain trying to get something and trying to spur Spurs on. Pardon that little bit of parlance there. Going down 2-0, it could have been the end of it. You could see that really go through the Spurs squad, a little bit kind of being disheartened, but Papa Mate Sarr scores a goal in probably one of the more bizarre ways possible. I don't think it was meant to be a goal. I think it was a cross to Solanke that kind of got away from him, that ended up going above and beyond Kepa and into the net. Watch the goal. You can make your own decisions. It looks beautiful, but I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah, it didn't look intentional at all, but the goal's a goal.
So after it happened, he didn't cheer.
Yeah, you're just like, oh,
right? Because he's like, I'll take it. It reminded me of the one and only goal from YP Lee in a Whitecap shirt, where he went to cross the ball, ended up, lobbing it over the goalkeeper, hits the far post and bounces into the net. Beautiful goal. Wasn't meant to be a goal.
But a goal is a goal.
Right? But it was enough to get them back in. At that point, Spurs finally started coming in. They started building the game. They started figuring out what they were doing. Ended up Kepa taking down Sun in the box, clear penalty. Sun converts 2-2 draw. It was good. It was solid. Shaky moments to begin the match, but they slowly played their way into the game. Coming up today, the second leg of AZ Alkmaar Europa League. They're down 1-0 in that tie. This game, I believe, was back in London, I believe.
Yes, so.
Spurs should put this one to bed. I know they're down 1-0. That shouldn't matter. This is one you need to get done. You should get done. There will be very, very big disappointment if it's not done.
And you're at home.
Yeah, we can Fulham. And again, you should get that one done as well.
Yeah. Champions League action. Canadians on the score sheet.
Yeah.
Alphonso Davies scored an insurance marker for Bayern in their win over Bayer Leverkusen. 2-0 second leg win in the 71st minute. I believe the total aggregate was like 5-0. So comfortable tie for Bayern Munich, who will take on Inter Milan in the quarterfinals. And then Jonathan David, in a losing effort, unfortunately, to Borussia Dortmund, scores early in the 5th minute, but Dortmund get 2 in the second half. Emery Chan with the penalty and Bier in the 65th minute. Dortmund just looked like the better team throughout the tie. Looked more clinical, looked better defensively. And I think for the first time in years, I don't remember exactly what the broadcast said, Lille do not make the quarterfinals. And Dortmund in the league, they're terrible, but in Champions League, look way better. Don't know what it is, but this Dortmund likes those European nights.
Yeah.
Tough for Jonathan David, though, to go out this early, but hey, next year, he'll hopefully be in the Champions League with a bigger club.
I don't know where he ends up. And I don't understand Lille letting him leave on a free.
Yeah. Well, he's going to leave on a free.
He will. Yeah.
And also, speaking of Champions League, PSG. Could this be their year? It would be funny if they'd win the Champions League with guys like Dembele and Barcola instead of Messi and Neymar. Mbappe.
We've said it could potentially be the year before.
Weaker squad this time, but a look more cohesive squad.
Yeah. I don't know if weaker maybe in terms of individual players, but I think they have a better team.
That's just it. They have better chemistry.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear Arne Slot's talk about it because he said it was one of the best Champions League games he's ever been involved in.
Yeah, because it was a good game, that second leg. PSG got the only goal in the game from Ousmane Dembele, who just made Konate look silly.
Yeah.
And this guy, again, looking like a world-class player, Ballon d'Or candidate. And speaking of the Ballon d'Or, Mo Salah, these 2 legs just disappeared.
Yeah.
And then it was just a goalkeeping battle throughout this game between Alisson and Donnarumma. But then it goes to penalties. Donnarumma comes up big.
He always does in penalties.
Yeah, stopping the Curtis Jones and Darwin Nunez. And then PSG just ends Liverpool's Champions League dreams.
Yeah.
Remember, people say, oh, Liverpool, they could go all the way, even us. But it looks like PSG are definitely up there as one of the favorites. And big plaudits to Nuno Mendes for just putting Salah in his pocket.
What about this Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid game? And the penalty, have you ever seen VAR called on a penalty kick?
I don't understand this, and I think they got it wrong here. Plus, this game was also fun to watch. Maiden Cobham, former Chelsea player, Conor Gallagher, of all people,
scores.
Getting like 30 seconds in. Fastest goal in like the Champions League this season, and I think one of the fastest goals, if not the fastest in history of the Champions League.
So here's the
But-
thing about the goal, or the penalty kick. Yes, I think there is a second touch.
But it's after he shot it.
Doesn't matter. By the letter of the law, it is nullified. Now, the interesting thing is, because of this, UEFA has already come out and said they've said the call was right, but they are going to review the rule with IFAB for anything that is clearly an unintentional second touch. So it's one of those ones where, you know, the person enforcing the rule technically got it right, but the people that create the rule now see a problem with it. That's fine. It sucks. And we should mention, this isn't the first time it's happened, and where someone taking a penalty has gotten away with it.
Yep. Messi did in the World Cup.
Yeah. But it's unbelievably harsh. But you cannot fault the refereeing team for doing the job as they were told to do it.
Yeah, it was the VAR
right
team that told the ref to check it.
They as the rule stands right now, they got it right. I'm happy that they're looking at the rule now, because the rule might not be right.
And people are upset because if this happened to a Real Madrid player, I don't think this would have been called.
If this happened to a Real Madrid player, Real Madrid would have been boycotting the tournament, like they did the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah. Oh, it was like a really slight touch.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like they said VAR didn't even go to the in-ball technology about whether or not there was a second touch. They said that there was enough in the camera angles to show it. But I would be curious to see if the ball registered it.
Yeah. And
because it didn't look like it actually made any impact. What do I know?
Yeah. And Marcus Llorente hitting the crossbar also stung, and All Black had Rudiger's penalty, but it just squeezed past him. Hey, made in Chelsea again on the score sheet. Plus, this game could have been different if Vinicius Jr. didn't blast his penalty over the bar in the second half.
Do you know what it also is I think they were saying like Atletico and Real have gone to penalties in I think it was Champions League competition 6 times, and they've lost all 6.
Yeah, including the final in 2016.
Yeah.
And yeah, this game was a duel, like, from both sides. Both sides were just battling it out, but Real Madrid prevails again in the Champions League, and they will face Arsenal in the quarterfinals.
I can't tell you who I want to win that.
I'd rather have Real Madrid win that.
I think I have to say Real Madrid just because it's Arsenal, but Real Madrid is not a team I really
want to cheer for. But
yeah, right.
Lesser of two evils.
Yeah, let's call it that.
So that'll conclude this week's episode. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Not sure what to do for next week because Nathan is going to be on vacation. A well-deserved break. It's spring break after all.
Yeah, that's right. Kids out of school, so
why not?
Yep.
And follow our writing for Air 51 Sports Network, as well as we'll continue to cover the team. Well, I will when Nathan's gone. Plus Canada and the Nations League. And some other soccer stuff. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, Nathan and Direct Podcast at Terminal City FC. Blue Sky as well. Check out Instagram and the YouTube channel. Hope to put up some more shorts. So hope you all have the good rest of your day, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thanks for those who are watching the live stream. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.